Okay, this video is designed to show you how to spot and correct sentence fragments. First, what is a fragment? It's a construction that the writer has written as a complete sentence that fails in its mission as a sentence. So it's just not complete quite yet. Sometimes the fragment construction begins with a word that begins a dependent clause, and that's what the problem is. If you'll look at the dependent clause after we moved and notice the word after, this is a dependent clause marker. Think about after we moved, you're still waiting to find out what happened after we moved, and so would your reader be. You'll notice too that the word after is the problem. It's what makes the whole construction dependent. If you removed after and just wrote we moved, that's a sentence. It's got a subject, it's got a verb, and it expresses a complete idea. You'll see the same thing in these other examples. Melinda felt bad would be a perfectly good, complete, although short sentence. But as soon as you add that dependent clause marker, although Melinda felt bad, then your reader's waiting for something else to happen in the sentence to make it complete. When we finished, what happened? So the way we can correct this sort of fragment, the kind that's caused because of a dependent clause marker, we simply complete the thought. After we moved to Columbus, my mother got a job teaching school. That corrects the after dependency. You'll notice too that my mother got a job teaching school is an independent clause, also known as a complete sentence. That's how you correct a fragment, a dependent clause. See, a dependent clause has to be attached to an independent clause in order for it to become a complete sentence. The although clause, although Melinda felt bad, she stayed the entire time. Now we know what happened, although Melinda felt bad. And the same thing with when we finished dinner, Bill asked for the check. Now we know what happens in the sentence and the thought has become complete. So if your fragment is created because of a dependent clause marker, then just go ahead and finish that sentence and you should be able easily to repair the fragment. Oftentimes, a fragment's simplest correction is by adding it to the end of the previous sentence. I think a lot of times students get nervous, especially if their sentences begin to become long, and they want to stop a sentence and begin a new one, but sometimes that's just not the right thing to do. Look at this. GMC offers many majors. That's a fine sentence all by itself. But as soon as you add the second part, such as business, general studies, and English, you'll notice that that red part is not a complete sentence. Well, the quick and dirty correction for that is just add it to the end of the previous sentence. GMC offers many majors such as business, general studies, and English. You see, there is no reason for that red part to be in its own separate sentence. Same thing is happening here. Coach Smith demonstrated her disgust by walking off the field in the middle of a game, leaving her team at a time when we needed her. You can hear that's not really a period there. That needs to just be a comma. The red part, leaving her team at a time when we needed her, is a perfectly nice part of the remainder of that first sentence. Coach Smith demonstrated her disgust by walking off the field in the middle of a game, leaving her team at a time when we needed her. Same mistake again. I need to find a roommate because the one I have now isn't working too well. You see that because just needs to be the rest of the sentence, that because clause. And this is what we've done here. And you'll spot this correction easily. The current city policy on housing is incomplete as it stands. We should just put a comma here, lowercase w, which is why we believe the proposed amendments should be passed. But here's another interesting variation on this. This is another way to correct it. Because the current city policy on housing is incomplete as it stands, we believe the proposed amendments should be passed. Now you see the sentence says essentially the same thing, but it's done something a lot of students have been warned against doing. A lot of students have been told never to begin a sentence with because. Well, you see, because is a dependent clause marker, so it's going to begin a dependent clause, but that's fine. Dependent clauses are great. All you need to do is add an independent clause to the end of it, and you've got a perfectly nice, really sophisticated, complex sentence. The reason that you're told when you're younger not to start sentences with because is because they're just afraid you're going to not finish the sentence. So, watch this as many times as you need to make sure you understand now how to spot and correct your sentence fragments.